Hi Founder fans, Jason here, and in this, our final installment of our review of the Anti-Federalist paper, the Impartial Examiner, we look at the fifth and final installment of the Impartial Examiner. Now this is much shorter than most of the other essays. I'll remind you, these Anti-Federalist papers were being written in Virginia leading up to the ratification convention, and since this is an anti-federalist, they did not want the Constitution ratified. Now, it is an anonymous person. We don't know who the Impartial Examiner was, but the first three papers are really long and wordy. Now, well, at this point, the Impartial Examiner is still using pretty flowery language and definitely likes to hear his own voice or at least read his own writing. It's not, as I said, too long or too intense. Actually, what it does is right at the beginning just kind of reviews the situation, saying this is a really dramatic change we are making and we really need to pay attention of this dramatic change. The examiner then goes on to spend most of the article really discussing whether or not this is an overreaction to problems with the Articles of Confederation. As with almost everyone in colonial America, the Impartial Examiner does realize that changes are needed to the Articles of Confederation, that you do need to be able to raise some kind of money to be able to supply the forces that the Articles agreed upon. The Articles of Confederation do agree to jointly support each other in various ways, but you need money to do that. And even the Impartial Examiner, as with most anti-federalists, agree these changes needed to be made. However, they did believe that there were ways to make these changes. As the U.S. Constitution had amendments, it was possible to amend the Articles of Confederation. A lot more difficult, but still possible. And that was the method that the Impartial Examiner thought should be taken. Specifically, the examiner discussed evils in the government. And he essentially says, if you have something wrong with the government that infects every part of the government, and all of the government is bad, yes, you might have to create a whole new government. But if you have a government, this is what he surmised the situation as under the Articles of Confederation, where the government itself is fine, it's just there's this one little problem that needs to be fixed. It's better to just fix that little problem than to overhaul the whole system, especially when you're creating a more powerful system, which at that time did not protect any of the rights of the individuals. I'll remind you, the Bill of Rights were not a part of the Constitution and not being debated during the ratification convention. So there was a lot of people afraid that the rights were being taken away that the states themselves had granted. So that's a brief overview of the Impartial Examiner, essay number 5. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little something and enjoyed this series. Make sure you like and subscribe because I will be starting a new series on a new Anti-Federalist next week. Thank you again, and I'll be back with another founder for you tomorrow.